We find that monsters aren't always born. Sometimes they're made. We invite you on a journey into the life of Robert Austin Sullivan, a man whose early beginnings could have suggested an entirely different story, yet his life took a horrific turn. This is a chilling tale of crime and punishment, a descent into the shadows of human behavior. Please be advised, the subject matter is graphic and may not be suitable for all viewers. Your discretion is strongly recommended. Background and early life. Robert Austin Sullivan was born on July 20th, 1947 in the bustling city of Boston, Massachusetts. Sullivan's journey began under circumstances that seemed anything but extraordinary. Merely 2 weeks after his birth, Sullivan was adopted by a couple hailing from Nasha, New Hampshire. His adoptive parents chose to raise him in the relatively tranquil town of Belmont, Massachusetts, a sharp contrast to his birthplace. There, under the nurturing care of his adoptive mother, Sullivan spent his formative years growing up like any other child in a middle-class family. As he came of age, Sullivan decided to leave his hometown behind and move to Florida to pursue higher education. He enrolled at the prestigious University of Miami, setting his sights on a degree in business administration. This choice of study indicated that perhaps he had aspirations to join the bustling world of business, or maybe even start his own enterprise. However, life had a different plan. In 1971, before he could complete his degree, Sullivan made the decision to leave university. The reasons for this sudden departure are not entirely clear. Whether he faced personal troubles, academic difficulties, or simply lost interest in his studies, Sullivan's time at the University of Miami ended abruptly. This departure from school marked the end of Sullivan's ordinary life, and a darker chapter began. It was during this time that Sullivan's life took a drastic turn, one that would lead him down a path of crime and ultimately to death row. The crime. Following his abrupt departure from the University of Miami, Sullivan sought employment at the Howard Johnson Motor Lodge, located in Homestead, just south of Miami. Here, he seemed to find some stability, swiftly climbing the ranks to the managerial position. Despite these initial indications of a promising career, Sullivan's actions would soon demonstrate a disregard for the law and his employer's trust. In August of 1972, Sullivan was charged with embezzling funds from the lodge. In a surprising turn, he pleaded guilty, consequently receiving a 5-year probation and an order to refund $6,000 to his employer. This incident marked Sullivan's first serious brush with the law, hinting at a deeper and more alarming propensity for crime. Less than a year after this legal entanglement, on April 10th, 1973, Sullivan found himself back at his old place of work, the Howard Johnson Motor Lodge. But this visit wasn't marked by nostalgia or a simple desire to catch up with former colleagues. Instead, Sullivan had darker intentions, and his visit would prove devastating for Donald Edward Schmidt, the new assistant manager of the lodge. Donald Schmidt, a 39-year-old man, had moved to Homestead, Florida for his new job at the Howard Johnson Lodge. Schmidt, a dedicated worker and family man, had recently purchased a mobile home for his wife and 4 children. He was settling into his new role, unaware of the tragic fate that awaited him. Schmidt's unexplained disappearance was first noticed when he failed to attend a crucial meeting. Concerned, his manager, Frank Barden, decided to pay a visit to the lodge. What he discovered was a chilling sight. The lodge was closed, lights were switched off, and Schmidt was nowhere to be found. Furthermore, the safe was empty, with $2,750 unaccounted for. Days later, a grim discovery was made in a field along the Tamiami Trail. Hunters stumbled upon Schmidt's body. He had been shot in the back of the head. His wallet and credit cards were missing, marking a clear motive behind this horrifying act. Investigation into Schmidt's death led the police to a startling realization. Schmidt's credit cards were being used in North Dade. This discovery resulted in a surveillance operation that eventually led to the arrest of 2 suspects, Robert Sullivan and a younger accomplice, Reed McLaughlin. With this development, the police were inching closer to solving the mystery surrounding Schmidt's murder, but the tale was far from over. As the investigation deepened, a chilling narrative of abduction, assault, and cold-blooded murder began to unravel. Trial and execution. In the aftermath of their gruesome crime, Sullivan and McLaughlin were swiftly apprehended and charged with first-degree murder. The subsequent investigation brought to light the terrifying sequence of events leading up to Schmidt's death. The two men had brutally abducted Schmidt, forcibly bound his hands with tape, assaulted him with a tire iron, and then callously shot him 4 times in the back of the head with a 12-gauge shotgun. This horrifying crime was not one of passion or desperation, but a calculated and cruel act of violence. Sullivan's chilling confession to the crime was unnerving, to say the least. He coldly admitted to the murder, and when probed for a motive behind the brutal killing of Schmidt, who had reportedly cooperated with his captors, Sullivan disturbingly replied, "I always wanted to commit a murder." This bone-chilling statement underscored the cold-bloodedness of his act and provided a dark glimpse into Sullivan's twisted psyche. McLaughlin also confessed to his role in the murder, but in exchange for his testimony against Sullivan, he was given a life sentence instead of the death penalty. The contrasting fates of the two co-defendants showed the stark reality of capital punishment and plea deals in the American justice system. A decade later, Sullivan's time finally came. At the age of 36, he was led to the electric chair at Florida State Prison, a grim end for a man who had lived a life marked by crime and violence. On November 30th, 1983, Sullivan was executed, ending his long tenure on death row, which, at 10 years and 3 months, was the longest anyone had ever spent on death row in the United States at the time. In a final testament to his grim legacy, Sullivan's last words were as chilling as his crime. As he faced his imminent death, he made no pleas for forgiveness nor any declarations of remorse. Instead, he remained defiant to the end, echoing the closing lines of Invictus, a 19th century British poem by William Ernest Henley, often interpreted as a statement of resilience and unyielding will in the face of adversity. "I am the master of my fate," he declared. "I am the captain of my soul." These words, a testament to his unrepentant spirit, provide a chilling conclusion to the dark and tragic story of Robert Austin Sullivan. As we close this dark chapter in our exploration of true crime, it's vital we reflect on the life and horrifying crimes of Robert Austin Sullivan. However, in doing so, we must never forget the tragic victim of his ruthless act, Donald Edward Schmidt. A husband, a father, a man whose life was brutally and senselessly cut short. Mr. Schmidt's story is one of countless individuals whose lives are abruptly ended due to senseless acts of violence. His life and the lives of victims like him deserve to be remembered not for their tragic ends, but for the people they were in life, and the lives they touched, and the loved ones they left behind. Let's take a moment to extend our thoughts and sympathies to all victims of violent crime and their families. The pain they endure, the void left by their loss, is unimaginable. In their memory, let's use this moment of reflection to better understand the impact of such atrocities on our community and strive for a world free of such senseless violence. As we move forward, we'll continue to bring you stories from all facets of life and history. Stories that will hopefully ignite thought, discussion, and a better understanding of the world around us. Stay tuned for more narratives from across the spectrum, from inspiring to terrifying, from uplifting to sobering. Finally, as we sign off today, we'd like to remind each and every one of you to stay vigilant, stay informed, and most importantly, stay safe. Our mission here is not just to tell stories, but also to foster a sense of community and awareness. The world can be a dangerous place, but together, through understanding and compassion, we can strive to make it better. Until next time, take care of yourselves and each other.